Today I want to sculpt an insect hotel, also called a bee stone or a bug hotel. If you don't know what that is, that's a structure that you put in your garden that houses beneficial insects like solitary bees or ladybugs. They're often made out of wood or reeds, but one of the best materials that you can make them out of is clay. Now, I did a ton of research to figure out what would be the best structure that I could make, and there are a few requirements. One of the most important things is that your insect hotel is protected from rain. I figure a roof will do. See how the roof overhangs the body of the house? That will protect it from water getting in here. So now the next step is to refine this shape. However, this is better done when the piece is a little bit more dry so it can hold its structure a little bit better. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to wrap this up in cloth and then I'll get back to it tomorrow when it's a little bit drier. Good morning, it's the next day. With the warm weather lately, my bug house is actually dry enough now to continue with the next steps. However, this is going to depend on the climate in your area, so you might need to wait more than one day. It just depends on how humid and warm your area is. But what you want to be looking for is that your piece is quite leather hard, like you can't squish it at all. If I'm pressing against it, the clay doesn't move anymore. This is going to be the right consistency that we want for carving. Of course, the best way to make sure that it's ready for carving is to actually do a little bit of carving. So you can start carving it and see if you are coming up with some clean lines. If your lines are clean, it's ready to add the holes. The next requirement to sculpting a bug house that bugs will actually want to move into is the proper sized holes. By the way, I got all this information from a German nature preservation organization called Bund. I'll have the article that I got all this information from linked in the description. So according to Bund, the holes that we're going to drill into this need to be 3 to 9 millimeters wide and 10 to 20 millimeters deep. So first of all, when you're making your bug house, make sure that it's actually deep enough. This one is 15 centimeters deep, so that's perfect. And by the way, don't forget the shrinkage of your clay. So I'm going to use these hole cutters. This one's 8 millimeters thick. This one is 4. In my experience though, because you're not inserting them in perfectly, they always end up like maybe a millimeter bigger. This one I shouldn't use because this one is 12. If you don't have these tools, I'll link to some down below as well, but you can also use drill bits. The only problem with drill bits is that they're not super long. I also got the impression that it's best to have as many different types of holes as possible, so just use whatever tools you have. Then you can appeal to like the most wide variety of bugs. I'm just placing the holes kind of randomly. As far as I can tell, it doesn't really matter. You could make a really nice pattern if you wanted to, or, you know, whatever the heck you want. The most important part though is that you don't go all the way through with your holes though. So you want to stop at some point and leave some room at the back, because if it's just like a tube all the way through, the bugs can't use it. There's nowhere to nest when there's not a little closed side. So I've cut all my holes and they're a little bit rough still. Like I need to smooth out all of this, but before I do that, I'm going to actually go into the holes with something round. So I've got this little pencil-like shape thing. You could also just use the back of a paintbrush or something. Just something that's round, that's smooth, that's going to smooth out the inside. Because these cutters can leave some like sharp edges behind. And if you leave any sharp pieces on here, it can actually like shred the wings of the animal. So you want to smooth that all out. I think this piece is a little too wet for me to do the final touch-ups right now. Like there's some little scriggly bits on the end. I'm just going to let that dry out and then I can more easily scrape it off with a rib versus now if I try and rub it out, it's going to just smear and make a bigger mess. So it'll be way easier for me to just let this dry and then I can knock off those sharp points with the rib later on. So at this point you can add whatever you want to your bug house. You can add any additional decoration that you like. You can add underglazes, you can do more carving, you can add sprig molds, you can do stamps, you can do like loads of things. The options are really endless. So for me, what I want to do next is add a little tube at the bottom so I can suspend it from a pole. So in my opinion, you may decide that you want to either suspend your bug house from a pole or maybe better yet, even hang it on the side of a shed. This way, the solitary bees and ladybugs can use it and other like flying insects, but not like the creepy crawlies. So I'm not a botanist, I'm not an insectologist, I'm not an expert in this, but from what I've seen, most people are elevating their bug houses off the ground, so I'm going to do that with a pole. It's looking a little crazy up on the tube, but I swear I have a vision. This is gonna come together looking fine. So a few notes on the drying. Please keep in mind that this boy is thick. It's really heavy actually, and obviously we did poke holes out and carve a little bit on the side, but there's still a lot of clay on here. So this needs to dry slowly. This pot has a huge risk of exploding or even just cracking in the kiln. So this baby is gonna take a few weeks to dry out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in my kiln room. That room gets really warm, which will help it dry out faster. Something else that you can do is candle it. So what candling is putting it in the kiln and putting it on a low temperature for a longer period of time. This is just like baking something in your home oven, you know, you're just heating it up over time and that's obviously going to dry it out faster. Now, in terms of firing, you do not want to fire your pot to full vitrification, okay? This is the one exception. You do not want this to vitrify. You do want to fire it high enough that it can, you know, withstand the elements of rainwater and whatnot, but you want it to be able to breathe. This is really important for the bugs so that there's not any trapped water. So you want to keep the clay porous. So what that means for me is my vitrification point is around 1220. So I'm going to fire at 1000 degrees. This is a little bit higher than I bisque. I normally bisque at 900, and I know that my bisque is a little bit fragile. I don't think I trust putting it outside. So I'm going to fire a little bit higher at 1000 degrees. It's definitely going to still be porous then. Hopefully then it will also be strong enough to withstand the elements. Okay. We're okay, we're okay. We made it. it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I get some little bugs moving in here soon. If you're looking for another fun and unique pottery project, check out this video where I teach you one of the most satisfying pottery techniques known to man, Narikomi. Bye, friends.